So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan here again, and this is another episode of Outdoor Living. In this video, I'm going to give you a basic overview of my outdoor living area, along with a more in-depth look at specifically my outdoor kitchen area. So if you do see something in this video that I don't quite go over, most likely there is going to be another video with a more detailed look at it in my outdoor living playlist of my channel. Or there will be a video to come because I just haven't had the time to edit it yet. Now, we are Amazon affiliates, and I will put the links to a lot of the products that you see in this video in my description if you want to get those coming. So as far as my outdoor kitchen goes, guys, I am going to go over each of the items that's part of that outdoor kitchen, what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, whether I modified it, where I got it from, how much I paid for it, along with some mistakes that I made during the process of creating my outdoor living area. So hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I did if you're in the process of creating an outdoor living area or possibly thinking of creating an outdoor living area. So let's get to it. Now, one thing I will say about my outdoor kitchen is everything that's part of it is on wheels. Now, when I originally thought about building an outdoor kitchen, I was thinking of building one permanently. However, the fact that we've got everything on wheels has come in quite handy because apparently we are very indecisive people, because we have changed the location of our outdoor kitchen or the configuration of that kitchen probably a minimum of 10 times because we used it that way. We found something we really didn't like about it, so we moved it. Then we moved it there, found out something we didn't like about that, and we moved it again. Now, I do agree that the permanently mounted kitchens to a concrete slab have a very nice look to them, but there is some things to consider before wanting to build one of those, because when you do a portable setup, if something goes bad, something breaks, something deteriorates, it is replaceable very easily. Whereas when you have a permanently mounted kitchen, either to a slab or whatever, if something deteriorates or breaks, it might be a little bit more problematic to repair or replace. This holds especially true if you're in like Phoenix, Arizona, like I am, because the sun during the summer months absolutely beats the crap out of things. And the same goes for the other side of things if you live in a really humid area or somewhere where it constantly snows during the wintertime, which might end up causing some surface rust or deterioration that way on, let's per se, your grill that you have part of your outdoor kitchen. And what looks great now when it's brand new might not be in that great a shape in 5 to 10 years after dealing with the elements. Now, honestly, if I was going to build an actual permanent outdoor kitchen that is attached to a concrete slab, the one thing I would not make part of that is the grill. I would buy a portable grill with some cabinetry underneath it and possibly just set it next to it. Now, there is a couple reasons for that. The first is that no matter what, a grill does have a lifespan to it. So if it's attached permanently to that outdoor kitchen and something breaks, something deteriorates, it might be more problematic to repair or replace that grill if it's permanently attached to your outdoor kitchen. Something else to seriously consider when you are thinking about doing an outdoor kitchen is the type of grill you're gonna get. Because I can tell you from personal experience that not all grills are created equal. I've been cooking outdoors for over 25 years now. Back in the day before Craigslist and OfferUp became rather popular, I used to buy the cheap grills, basically your Walmart deal of the day. And I used to get so pissed off because my food would not be coming out as it should because the uneven cooking surface of that cheap grill. I'd have raw chicken on one side and overdone chicken on the other, etc. Almost got me to the point where I didn't even like grilling anymore. Then I ended up coming across a Weber Genesis grill that was natural gas that somebody did not want to try and convert to propane. I got it for next to nothing. I did that conversion, and what a game changer as far as grilling outdoors. So before getting that grill, we used to cook outside maybe once or twice a month. And ever since getting that Weber Genesis, we're probably closer to once or twice a week. So the first thing I am gonna go over is the two Weber Summit grills that I got. I got both of these things off of OfferUp. The first one I'm gonna go over, I paid 150 bucks for. So if you were actually to buy this grill brand new these days, which this grill is still in excellent condition, just normal use, this grill would cost you anywhere from $2,800 to $3,500. The gentleman that had this had tried converting it to propane from natural gas, did not succeed, so he ended up selling it because of that reason. I got it, converted it without a problem, and that's basically what I've got into it. I am still in the process of editing the video for the conversion of this Weber Summit grill, and as soon as I get it done, I will put that icon at the end of this video, so if you want to check it out, you can. Now, we basically have this grill set up strictly for a rotisserie. The rotisserie is included in the one side shelf, and we use a rotisserie at least a couple times a month. And every time she'd want to do a rotisserie, I'd have to pull the grill grates off, I'd have to pull the secondary heat shelf off, and it just got really annoying, so I wanted to get her one that was ready to rock and roll at any time she chose to use it. Because I am a firm believer that the more of a pain in the ass something is to use, the less likely you are to either use it or make use of it. Now, the main reason we made this strictly for the rotisserie grill is because it does have that rotisserie burner in the hood. It also has a little smoker tray. We have not tried that yet, but we are going to do that in the near future, hopefully. Now, the other Weber Summit grill that we have is just a 4-burner, and it's pretty basic. This one is probably around $1,500, give or take a little bit, I'm guessing. Now, I did not get quite as good of a deal as I did on the first one, because I did pay the guy about $250 for this, but I thought the idea of having the 2 Weber Summit grills right next to each other was going to have a very clean look to it. So all I did to accomplish this was just remove one of the side shelves off of each one of those grills. Now, soon after getting this Weber Summit that had the stainless steel grates, we'd been cooking on our Genesis with cast iron, and we did realize that we liked the cast iron a lot better than the stainless steel. So I tried going online and finding some cast iron grates that would fit this Summit, and I could not find any. However, I did realize that the Weber Genesis grill grates were just a little bit too big for this Summit, so I ended up grinding a couple of those down and making them work. And ever since, we've been using it. We love it. It is a good grill. The one downside to this Weber Summit versus my older Genesis, which I actually didn't realize until I had already given away my Genesis to my brother, was that the Weber Genesis hood flips fully open, so any smoke that's coming off of like some really greasy per se hamburgers goes directly up. And on the Weber Summit, because half of that hood is basically part of the grill itself, it does not flip fully open, so a lot of that smoke basically rolls right into your face, which I'm not a big fan of. And basically by my wife, I've been told just deal with it, because she likes the fact that they look very clean side by side next to one another, because I had actually thought about trying to find myself another Weber Genesis instead. And once again, it's not really that big of a deal, because the only time I really have a problem with it is if we're cooking something really greasy that produces a lot of smoke. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over is our 4-burner Blackstone. Now, these are right around $300 to $400 if you were to buy it new. I gave the gentleman on OfferUp $170, came with the propane bottle, came with the cover, everything there, ready to rock and roll. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the reason this gentleman was selling this Blackstone was because the flat top was a little rusted. However, we got it. It took us less than a half an hour to rectify it, and now we have a perfectly operational flat top griddle for the outdoor patio. Now, once again, not to keep repeating myself or harping on something, but the fact that our kitchen was on wheels and we could move it came in very handy when we decided to get this flat top griddle, because we were able to reconfigure the outdoor kitchen to our liking with the new addition. Now, when first deciding to try and get a griddle, I actually wanted to get a smaller one, and my wife talked me out of it, and I'm glad she did. I do like the fact that it is this big, because we have actually ran out of real estate on this flat top a couple times when we're cooking for a lot of people. So going any smaller than this, unless there is just 2 of you, I don't recommend. The other thing we don't like about this Blackstone is the fact that the side shelves on this griddle get very hot. And I've got 2 examples of this that I'm going to share with you really quick. The first one was I was stupid enough to set a plastic Rubbermaid container on one of those side shelves while I was cooking, and it actually warped it to the point where the lid would not go on anymore. The other instance of this is my wife was cooking on it. We had one of the lids to cover the food setting on that side tray. We never actually ended up using that lid to cover the food for what we were cooking. So it had just been sitting on that side shelf. My wife grabbed the handle of that lid to hand it to my daughter to take inside. And as soon as my daughter actually grabbed that lid from something besides the handle, she dropped it because it was that hot. She was worried about burning herself. That leads me to the next part of this griddle that I don't really like, that I want to upgrade, and that is the actual flip over hood that is stout enough to handle the heat. Now, the cover that actually came with this griddle is just for storing purposes. You cannot use it to cover your food. It is too flimsy, and the heat will warp the crap out of that lid. Now, neither of these things are actual deal breakers for this griddle. It's just some things to consider. My biggest issue is all the heat coming off on those side shelves, because I've even set utensils or something down there and been like, holy shit, that's hot when I go to pick it up. Now let's get into my countertop and a couple of the other items that I have. I actually have 2 of these rolling shelves. Now, we actually got these shelves from Costco probably 15 years ago, and we were using them for garage storage. However, I ended up remodifying the way my garage was laid out. So I was able to take one of these shelf units and basically split it in half and made 2 shorter shelf units so I could use it for my countertop out here. Now, we've had these out here for probably 5 years, and they are holding up just fine in the elements. Now, that might be a different story if you don't have a covered patio, but mine have not shown any signs of rust or anything like that in the time they've been out here. Now, because these do have gaps in the shelving, I actually got some aluminum siding that was left over from me re-siding one of my enclosed trailers, and that is what is on the top shelf of both of these shelf units that I use for my countertop. Now, the one spare piece I did have was a little skinny, so it doesn't quite cover the entire top of that shelf, but it does work, and I really don't have a problem with it. It works well, it's easy to clean, and it gives me that nice, completely flat surface in order to work on and prep food. Now, by far, the best thing I ever added to my outdoor kitchen was an outdoor sink. Now, I don't remember where I exactly got the actual outdoor sink. However, the faucet came out of our house when we upgraded it. And then I've just got a garden hose going to that faucet to supply it, and a garden hose coming out of the drain in order to drain it into my side yard. Now, obviously, because I'm just draining into my side yard, I try and make sure I don't have huge chunks of food that we're putting down that drain. And we do have a screen in it to catch any big food particles or anything like that. But it is amazing to be able to wash your hands if you get them a little greasy when you're handling the food, and not having to worry about trying to go back inside with those dirty hands in order to wash your hands in there. In order to install that sink into the shelf unit, all I did was take a grinder and cut out some of the shelf around that sink. And then I took a jigsaw and cut that aluminum siding to fit the contour of the sink as well, and just set it in place. The other problem we ended up needing to solve that we realized very quickly is where we're going to store all of the stuff for the grills. And my solution to that ended up being to go on OfferUp and finding a used mechanics toolbox that had drawers, so hopefully it protects that stuff a little better, doesn't get it quite as dusty as if it was just sitting out on a shelf. And that has actually worked out really well. Now, originally we had it on wheels, and we had another stainless steel top that we had off of something else, and we had kind of a kitchen island. But using that mechanics toolbox for a kitchen island just didn't end up quite working out, and I don't remember why. So we took the wheels off of it and set it under the shelf with the sink, and that has worked out well for us. Now, one of my other favorite finds that we have in our outdoor kitchen is this pellet smoker. Now, I was actually able to pick this up for absolutely nothing because the gentleman that had it said it stopped working and he didn't want to mess with it. Now, it did end up needing a caster, a new control module, and an igniter, along with a new broiler kit. But all that cost me less than 200 bucks, and one of these Pit Boss XL grills is right around 600 to 800 new. Now, we've actually cooked ribs on it twice so far, and they both came out better than any ribs we have ever tried doing before, so we're really happy with this find as well. Now, this little piece of countertop was actually a refrigerator slash little drawer combo that actually was part of my Master Forge grill that we had years ago. That Master Forge grill was an absolute piece of shit, so I ended up getting rid of it. However, I kept this little countertop just to give me a little bit more countertop for my outdoor kitchen. We actually had this set up for an island in the middle of the outdoor kitchen as well. Just didn't end up liking it, so we moved it over here. But what we ended up doing is, because the refrigerator wasn't any good and I needed more cabinet space, I pulled the front door off of that refrigerator. We ended up attaching some hinges to that front door of the refrigerator, threw the rest of the refrigerator out, and it gave us some more storage that was kind of concealed. I actually used this to hold my Mister pump for my Mister system that runs around the exterior of my covered patio. I've also got an extra extension cord ran in there so my wife can pull it out and use it for like the leaf blower to blow off the patio. We found a power strip that has individually controlled switches for each outlet, and that comes in handy. I've also got another extension cord running over along the top of my covered patio and down to the rotisserie grill, because once again, the easier it is to use, the more likely you are to use it. We also use that extension cord to run our pellet smoker when we use that, and that way we don't have an extension cord running along the ground as a possible trip hazard in the main area where we're trying to cook. So one of the other huge improvements that we made that made us spend a lot more time out here is the covered patio. We actually first bought the 14 foot by 20 foot. We realized it wasn't quite big enough, so then we bought an additional 12 by 14 to put next to it. Now, both of these covered patios are completely made out of metal. I would never buy one that's made out of wood or a wooden one with a fabric roof, because once again, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and the sun will absolutely destroy anything that's not made of steel or aluminum. I don't know how many houses I've driven by that I see the metal structure in place with no roof on it because it was fabric, and once that fabric went to shit, what do you do then? Now you'll notice I do have my outdoor kitchen completely under those canopies, and that is to help protect it. Now a lot of people might be leery of putting a grill under a canopy, but this is metal, so nothing's gonna catch on fire. The only thing I do is if I know I'm gonna be cooking something that's gonna create a lot of smoke, I do put a box fan on one of my countertops to help blow the majority of that smoke outside the canopies instead of letting it go up through the ventilation in the top. Now, one other thing I'm going to show you real quick, even though it's not really part of the outdoor kitchen, is my outdoor shower. Now, the reason we decided to put an outdoor shower in is because it is nice to be able to rinse off the chlorine after getting out of the pool. And the shower head that I'm using out here was actually the old shower head out of our master bathroom. We ended up upgrading, and I decided to repurpose it and put it out here. The pole itself was actually part of a previous project I had done for an outdoor dartboard set that I had. Now, we found that we just weren't using that as much as I would have liked, so we ended up converting it and making it into the outdoor shower, along with a garden hose holder. Now, the cool thing about this is I can still put my outdoor dartboard on this setup if I want. It's only going to take me about 5 to 10 minutes, and we are ready to play darts, but the rest of the time it is serving as an outdoor shower during the summer, and it also serves as my garden hose holder year-round. So all I needed for this was a short length of garden hose, an adapter to go from garden hose thread to pipe, some PVC fittings with a ball valve. Now, in all honesty, the most expensive part of doing this at the time that I did it, because I already had the post, ended up being this little adapter pipe that put like a 15 or 20 degree down angle on that pipe because of the style of the shower head that I had in my master bath, which was only about 20 bucks. One other quick thing that we did get, and we actually found it at a garage sale, was this Stanley hose reel that's 65 feet long, only cost me 15 bucks. It was still pretty much new in the box when I got it. And we actually rigged up just a water manifold for the garden hose and teed it off of that, and then bolted that to the toolbox on that shelf unit that has a sink on it. Now, we actually have the garden hose at the house on all the time, and then it stops at that water manifold. The sink is also on all the time. However, when she needs to use that garden hose reel, you just turn it on at the manifold and then shut it off as needed. So that's about going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and it gave you some good ideas of ways you might be able to improve your outdoor living area that might be a little bit more budget friendly than some of the other options. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. The whole concept of my channel is to give you guys the most information in the least amount of time as possible so I don't waste your time. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Later.